Good day everybody, thank you for joining me on the channel. In today's content we will be analysing Velo and squeezing into the apex. Nothing that I say is financial advice, let's dive into the content. So coming over to the weekly time frame here, the apex that I'm talking about is currently being caught between this macro descending level of resistance, and we also have this macro level of ascending support. So it's really sort of squeaky bum time, a lot of people would call it, where you're getting compressed into this corner, and we actually do have a date that I would like us to keep in mind here, which is actually the 20th of October. Now this is the week where we actually see the compression of the descending resistance bump into the level of ascending support. So what this could mean is we may actually get really tight here over the next few weeks, awaiting a decision as we squeeze into this apex heading into sort of mid to late October. So pretty simple, guys, okay? And a lot of charting is simple: support versus resistance. Get this trend line on your charts, the resistance, and get this ascending level of support. If it makes it easier, a lot of the time I use red as a resistance because that's something that's hard to break through, and then green is the support base that you could say, well, we'll use this if we see any further concerns. So at the moment, if we zoom into this little sort of complex bit of price action here, it's quite ironic because even the December and January 2025 highs tie up with this major level of resistance, and fast forward back to sort of July and even into August and now in September, you can see we've had sort of 3 to 4 points of contact again on this resistance line. So it's evident how strong this resistance is and how important it is to break. And it's very same with this ascending level of, it's the same with this ascending level of support. We had a contact point in April, a contact point in June, and now we've had one sort of on the 1st of September. So really and truly, it's just about waiting for this apex and waiting for the break. It could come sooner. We may break resistance sooner. We also may lose support sooner. I think it's important to keep our eyes on Bitcoin here, which also placed this local low on the 1st of September, which is where we've seen Velo actually have this rally. We have seen a nice, I think it's about a 30% from this support up to the resistance. It was about a 30% move. Currently we're sitting at about 24% move off of that 1st of the September low. And again, I think it's just so important here that we do hold this green level of support. If you do see Velo lose this green trend line, it wouldn't be looking too great, and we'd obviously have to analyze this in another video. But right now my overall thoughts are we've got this higher high, higher low structure for several years, and this is just leading into the potential euphoria that we've been waiting for. That's my overall analysis right now. So if I see anything different and we start either losing support or breaking resistance, I will let you guys know. But at the moment, I do believe this is apex territory. We're getting compressed, and compression tends to lead to expansion. So from that sort of perspective, in previous videos, I was also analyzing these sort of wave counts in prior moves. In July, we had this sort of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave leg up, which actually brought us into this resistance. And I was saying that we could be in something similar here now, where we've had this low to support in April, a rally up in a wave 1, a wave 2, a wave 3 into resistance, pulling back for this wave 4, and then initially getting a break, which would take us back up to these local highs of December, January. And this wave 5, of course, would then be taking out this major level of resistance, and that would really kickstart the move here for Velo. So this is still a potential play that I'm looking at. And another reason being is because in the wave 4 correction, in this prior impulsive move, we had a very similar A, B, sort of C correction. Okay, we had an A, B, C. Let me put that as red just to make it a bit more easier for us to digest. We had an A, B, C correction, and then fast forward to this wave 4 here, which could also be replicating a similar move to what it did in the past. We also have another A, B, C. So you could say that, well, in this wave 4, we're also replicating what we did in this previous wave 4 before we got a wave 5 impulsive move. So again, this doesn't have to repeat, but it does look like we're following a very similar structure. 5 waves up, an ABC for the wave 4. 5 waves up, and an ABC for the wave 4. And this ABC is in fact brought us back down to this major level of support. So at the moment, that is still something that I'm looking for. And to validate the push to the wave 5 is simply taking out this resistance. Again, for the last there's been about 4 weeks over the last couple of months where we've ran into this resistance. And I understand it's getting rather boring. I feel that sort of sentiment across X a lot of the time. And this is just crypto. It's what happened, guys. You get consolidation phases. And right now, if we zoom out to the monthly time frame and I actually remove these sort of drawings here, all that's going on is Velo is consolidating above a key level of support. So I always go back to this Adam and Eve resistance line that is currently our neckline of support right here. I always go back to this previous level of resistance, and you can see we broke it in March, and ever since then we've kind of just been holding above this previous level of resistance, a sort of 0.008. That's a key level of support for Velo right now. We had 1, 2, 3, maybe 3 months where over the last sort of, you're looking at 518 days. 518 days we've been above this major level of support, and only 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 times in that period we've actually come back down to it, and every time we've seen strong relief. And you can see that again, even though we've come back to these lows, even the wick lows are getting higher, and again the highs are getting higher here as well. So there is some sort of channel that's actually forming here, so to speak. You have this sort of resistance, and we also have this sort of level of support. Again, this isn't perfect, but you can see that we are sort of compressing in this sort of channel. Now, what I think's occurred is we've had the Adam and Eve bottom, we've got the breakout, and actually since getting the breakout, we've had this sort of running flat ABC correction, okay, within this channel. Let's bring up the wave a little bit. So we've had some sort of ABC correction in the channel, and it does look like right now, although for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, it's quite, again, sideways, a little bit boring. It does look like what we're gearing up for here is the next leg up. And again, what that resorts back to is initially breaking our original level of descending resistance. So again, just keeping it really simple, guys. My honest opinion is waiting towards sort of October, the 20th of October. If we get a breakout sooner, fantastic. But I genuinely think that we could see just some compression getting really tight here, and then going for a breakout and actually retracing back to these highs that we've come from in January 2025. So that's initially what I'm looking at here. Simple and effective. Break resistance, great. Lose support, not so good. My favor is in breaking to the upside. I think the overall market is going to experience a humongous, uptick in Q4. And I don't think Velo would fall behind in that sort of sense. I think it would follow suit with the market. So what I'm also looking at here, this is just a bit of a long shot, but we potentially have this left shoulder into resistance. We've had this head, and now we have the formation of this potential right shoulder that's kind of ongoing here. It's not a perfect one, but there is a confluence of support on resistance, and there's also confluence with the shoulders on resistance. So we've got the head on support, the head on support, and the shoulders are on resistance. So, and this fits within the compression. Now there would be a breakout target of this, and it's simply going from the neckline of the resistance back down to the head. And if we do sort of break out on the 20th of October, let me change this to red, you'll notice that if we do break out on the 20th of October, the breakout target would bring us back up exactly to these highs of January 2025. So it essentially would be like a sort of bowl retracement where you've just come down in this curve. It looks a bit boring, but we're building this higher low structure. And when if we eventually get the break, coming into the 20th of October, it's pretty simple that we're going to start retracing back to these 0.038 highs. And that would be the journey began then for me up to our higher targets of 10 cents towards 38 cents. That's never changed from my perspective, as long as we're holding the Adam and Eve bottom on the monthly time frame. So really and truly, it does just look like we've got this sort of complex A, B, C correction where we've had a run into a major level of resistance for the B wave, and then we've come back in this C wave. And right now we're building this higher high, higher low support, having these corrections, these ABC corrections back down to support, they're fantastic. They don't feel great, but they're pulling us back to reload the launch pad. That's initially what it's doing, and it's done that every time since December of 2022. Anytime it's come back to this ascending support, Velo has seen relief. So there's no surprise that this month we are getting some, or even this week, should I say, coming into the second week of, or going out of the second week of September, why we've seen relief. You know, Bitcoin's picked up, a lot of the altcoins have picked up as well. There are some very bullish signals. I don't think alt season is here yet, but I do think we're on the cusp of it. And a lot of projects may get this continued squeeze heading into maybe even mid to late October before they get the breakout. Again, remember, not everything is going to run at once. If this market picks up and trillions come in, guys, not everything is going to run at once. Large caps will go first, mids, smalls, you know, other things may take off that you've never heard of before, but just keep your focus, stay grounded, and wait your turn, because I personally believe it will come. Velo may be a front runner, it may lag. You know, but sometimes comparison is a thief of joy. And I think that the structure here has been fantastic for the last few years, and that remains until otherwise, you know, and I'd update you if that was the case. So I do think we've had this lovely higher high, higher low structure. The last sort of 500 days have been a very complex ABC running flat or an irregular running flat correction. And right now we're just building the base slowly but surely, getting really tight here, looking for a break. Now there is also another level of resistance that we should probably keep our eyes on in the future, and it's this level of resistance here once we actually do get a break as well, because you can see that in some sort of instances we have this another sort of channel where we're caught between resistance, support. If we get the breakout, we could hit resistance and then come back for support, and this could happen into October and then get the break. So we may actually break out sooner. You know, we could see next week a push up to this resistance, come back for a key level of support, and then go. That's also a potential. And there is also another potential. This is a 1, a 2, a 3, this is a 4, and we may get a 5. We could see this is the bearish sort of scenario before leading into a bullish breakout. I think regardless of which direction we go to here, Q4 will lead to euphoria. So I think that if we have sort of had this 1, 2, 3, and this is a 4, and then we get a 5, just simply look for the prior lows. Okay, I don't see it at the moment, but this low would be a level of support, and then this previous low here would be a level of support. So you've got sort of 1 cent, and then you've got the 0.008. So at the moment there are support zones below that Velo does have, just in case we do roll over into October, because that can happen as well. We can have this sort of larger A, B, C correction, or this could be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave move down before getting a break. So really and truly, again, that wouldn't look too nice, but it could be a deviation before then getting a breakout, essentially acting as a spring or a fake out to the downside and then going for the break. That is a potential too. And this isn't an ABC, it's potentially a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, back down to a key level of support, spring, reload, break. You know, that's something I would look at if we lost this ascending green trend line, but that hasn't happened yet. Just wanted to show you the scenario. Potential ABC running flat. We're getting the build up, getting really tight and compressed into this corner. A break is going to occur eventually, in my honest opinion. So keep your eyes on that date, 20th of October. Lastly, before I go, there's one sort of indicator that I'm waiting for here, and it's a bullish trend flip on the super trend. So you can see we've got this super trend line, the resistance, this red line, and we also had in the past something very similar. Now, when the super trend tends to flatline, okay, where it goes flat, this is where we could potentially say, well, you run into resistance, correct, higher low, break. We've got a flat line right here, okay, and we've come up, we've run into resistance, higher low, break. What we're looking for is a rinse repeat of this previous, again, the 5-wave impulsive move I showed you in the earlier in the video. If we can get a bullish trend flip, flipping into green, coming into October, that to me would also be a very bullish sign to say, well, we're looking to get a euphoric break and push up back to these highs of January 2025. So keep your eyes on the super trend indicator. It's a very important indicator to monitor here. Just removing resistance to make it a bit clearer. You can see that when we did flatline, it did take some weeks after getting the correction but this did lead to a break. Right now we've got the flat line, okay, and we've had the few weeks of correction, so this could lead to a break. You see what I mean? It's almost very similar. It's pretty much identical to the prior bearish super trend resistance, and we've got that now. So all it is patiently waiting for the green to come in, and if we do see that signal, I will let you guys know, but it would be a very good signal to say, well, potentially we're looking to actually get the break of this resistance now, and this is where the next uptick is coming. So do keep your eyes on that. And there's also one last thing before I go, the stock RSI. The stock RSI is also printing very similar signals to what it did last year. If you look back at this correction here, we had the low, the higher low before the breakup. Right here in the stock RSI, you had these higher lows, okay, and we initially got a higher low before a breakup. Now, if you look at the price action here, very similar. We've had this correction back to a key level of support. Right now, we've got these higher lows potentially in the stock RSI, and we could be about to create that bullish cross like we did back in November 2024 and essentially start riding the waves back up again. And this would be where we actually get the breakout as well. So it does look like the stock RSI is potentially on the weekly trying to form a bullish cross. And that's exactly what happened in sort of October, November 2024, which led to this euphoric move up to 0.038. So if we can get the higher, the bullish cross on the stock RSI here, this may also indicate that we're going to look to start breaking out and pushing towards that higher target. So there are other indicators that are showing confluence with us breaking to the upside here. Just a couple there, the super trend indicator and the stock RSI. I mean, the weekly 20 and 55 EMA are also extremely compressed right now. Okay, there's compression between these EMAs as well as the resistance. You can see that Velo at the moment this week has pushed back above its 20 and 55 EMAs, which sit at 0.015 and 154. If we see candle closes above that, great. If we don't, then these are still strong levels of resistance that Velo needs to break, unfortunately. And there is confluence here. The 20 and 55 are resistance and this descending trend line. So there is a lot of work to do. There's good signals, but there's still work to do. Let's put it that way, guys, okay? But just keep your eyes on this apex, the 20th of October. This is where things get really tight and where a move could happen. I hope you've enjoyed the content from Chart Nerd TA. Take care. Peace out.